We've seen celebrities scaling mountains, skinning alligators, and wading through freezing waters, all alongside the man, the myth, the legend, Bear Grylls. The master survivalist in his shows has given us some of the most iconic celebrity moments to date. With Season 7 of his hit survival show, Running Wild, being available to stream now on all platforms, we took it upon ourselves to rank the top 10 craziest celebrity challenges we've seen on the show. Starting off strong at number 10 is the Hangover star, Ed Helms. If you have any sort of phobias, make sure Bear Grylls doesn't get wind of them. Why? Well, because he's the man who faces his fears, and he'll definitely make you do the same. Ed Helms, for example, is scared of heights, so of course, Bear strapped him to the bottom of a moving helicopter and said, "Off you go." Now, having just a thin rope connecting you to a helicopter while it swerves right and left in a mountainous area is not something we'd advise, but Ed faced the challenge head on, and even said it was a nice experience. Mel B's harrowing experience at number 9. To be fair, abseiling off a cliff front is never safe, but in Season 3, Episode 6 of Running Wild, the activity was a whole nother level of life-threatening. Using a common earth mound as their stabilizing block, Bear and Mel B went climbing down the steep cliff. Mel B tried to protest and point out the dangers of what exactly they were doing, but it all fell on deaf ears, as Bear urged her to power through. They sure have guts, and as if that wasn't enough, a moment in the episode saw Bear get accidentally stung by a jellyfish. And what did Mel B do to heal it? Well, pee on his hand, of course. She's definitely running wild if you catch our drift. Stephen Fry is clocking in at number 8. We have to say, actor and comedian Stephen Fry and adventurer and survivalist Bear Grylls do make an odd pair. During the episode, Fry even confesses that he doesn't have much of an outdoorsy personality. But as the two traversed mountains, climbed down waterfalls, yes, you heard us right, and went down a cliff face, they struck up a precious bond. The most daunting task, though, was when clipped to a thin steel cable, Fry and Grylls proceeded to descend a 500-foot waterfall, where one wrong move would end nastily. It took them an hour to complete it. We're just glad the comedian was able to throw in his characteristic quips, making it one of the most entertaining Running Wild episodes to date. And our next contender is Ben Stiller. Most celebs who appear on the show with Bear Grylls are generally nervous, sometimes scared, but usually all around enthusiastic and ready to face the next challenge. Yeah, not Ben Stiller though. The Zoolander star was basically downright miserable throughout the episode. We're not complaining because it did make for some great entertainment. Bear made Stiller use antler horns as an anchor for both of their bodies to dangle off a ridge, and Ben wasn't happy about the decision. Then, the pair had to scale up a cliff they'd scaled down previously. And guess what? Ben wasn't happy about that either, and the episode ended with them jumping off a cliff right into the water below. And we think you know just how Ben felt about that by now. Number 6 is Kate Winslet recreating her iconic Titanic scene in the wild. Yes, you heard that right. Even in the midst of the most dangerous and mountain-scaling situation we've seen on the show, Winslet didn't lose her comedic spark. If you're ever in a scenario where you need to start a fire, but the only two things you have are lip balm and a tampon, then Kate Winslet's hack will be sure to help you. We don't know why you'd ever be in a situation like that, but now you know. The Titanic moment of this episode, though, came when Kate had to rappel face first down an extremely steep mountain front, and Bear told her to let go of the rope. Kate immediately followed, which goes to show the amount of trust and respect she must have for this man, because only a crazy person would let go of their one supporting device on a mountain. Putting her hands up in the air, Kate yelled her famous lines from the classic, "I feel like I'm flying. If you jump, I jump." Actors, we tell ya. And Shaquille O'Neal was too big for even the wild? In the Adirondack Mountains of upstate New York, Bear and Shaq faced challenge after challenge together, while Grylls always maintains a policy to traverse through forests as quietly and stealthily as possible. Shaq completely disregarded that. It was honestly pretty funny to see the 7'1" former NBA player blast through the forest noisily, bumping into bushes and low-hanging tree branches again and again. Of course, his size made it even more difficult to descend the mountainous terrain, and Bear had to eventually come up with a plan to use his own body weight to lower him. Sounds dubious, right? Even Shaq kept saying how Bear was tiny and couldn't possibly pull it off. But, as with every other challenge that comes his way, Bear overcame it breezily. Oh, and the two also munched on some placenta. Shaq sneakily threw his away, but we saw it, Shaq. We saw. Coming in hot at number 4 is pop star Nick Jonas, folks. Turns out, Jonas isn't just a pretty face with a pretty voice. He can also hold his own pretty impressively in the wild. The freezing cold climate of the Sierra Nevada mountains tried its best to bring him down, but he wasn't having it. Having to put his food down in his pants in an attempt to warm it was a pretty bold choice, but that isn't even most of it. At a point in the episode, Bear and Nick had to swim through an excruciatingly cold river, which Bear warned him would only give them a 3-minute window before their body succumbed to the cold and went into panic mode. Jonas had to yell a lot of encouragement to himself during the short wade, but he managed to get to the other side, and we have to salute him for overcoming the gargantuan task. Moving on to Mr. Channing Tatum. He sure is one enthusiastic travel partner. "I'm loving being around tiny things that I can't see that could kill me," was what Mr. Tatum had said about his running wild experience during the episode. If that doesn't tell you just how excited the actor was about every new challenge that came his way, then we don't know what will. Climbing the daunting cliffs of the California mountains and then descending the steep faces were all tasks he saw through with infectious enthusiasm. His positivity was certainly refreshing to see among all the other episodes where celebs are losing their minds because of the dangers. But his food adventures were by far the most interesting aspect of the episode. First, splitting a scorpion in half with Bear, he downed it fearlessly. Then, as Bear held up a snake, Tatum sliced it lengthwise with a machete and then proceeded to devour that too. Crazy, right? Taking the number 2 spot is everyone's favorite hunk, Zac Efron. The bromance in this episode was off the charts. Not completely unexpected though, considering Zac Efron is the definition of charm. Much like Tatum, Zac didn't let any of the dangers of his tasks get to him. Fully committing to all the obstacles thrown his way, he stole the show with his childlike willingness. As the first ever guest of Running Wild, he got some pretty grueling tasks as well. One of these was the absolutely bonkers 150-foot drop into remote waters. Stripping from the waist up, the two set off to conquer this final hurdle in their journey. And even though there was a snag here and there, the High School Musical star made it down safely, making it look like a piece of cake. And finally, for the most challenging episode of all, Jake Gyllenhaal takes the crown at number 1. Joining Bear Grylls in Iceland in Man vs. Wild, Gyllenhaal faced what was undoubtedly the most perilous task we've yet seen on Grylls' adventures. Although it's been revealed that sometimes Bear Grylls makes sure to set up situations so that he can demonstrate certain survival techniques, Gyllenhaal's episode was one with genuine danger. Trekking some truly treacherous icy plains, gutting rotten sheep with their bare hands, and having to gobble on some pretty questionable items to fulfill their stomachs was the least of it. The crucial moment of the episode arrived when Jake had to slide across a rope that was pulled taut high above an icy valley. That sounds like routine for Bear Grylls, right? Well, this rope wasn't a safety line. Bear told the Los Angeles Times that when Jake pulled himself across on the rope, the line that was tied to him wouldn't have held him if he fell. The A-list actor's nerves were shredded, but miraculously, he made it across by sheer force of willpower. We're glad he did. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten to see him in Nightcrawler 3 years later. Well, folks, that was our top 10 list of the absolute best celeb moments on Bear Grylls shows. Which particular Running Wild celebrity feature are you most fond of? Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.